My newlywed sister proudly announced we're starting our new life together after my parents demanded my house for the couple, so I responded, "Start your life the same way I did on my own." What started as a normal Sunday dinner at my parents' house has turned into the most surreal situation of my life. For context, I work as a software engineer and bought my downtown apartment 3 years ago. It wasn't easy. I saved for 6 years, lived with roommates in questionable neighborhoods, ate ramen more times than I care to admit, and worked countless overtime hours. This apartment represents everything I've worked for since graduating college. It's not huge, just a one-bedroom, but it's in a great location, and more importantly, it's mine. My younger sister Emma, 26F, got engaged 6 months ago to her boyfriend Ryan. I'm happy for her. Ryan seems like a decent guy, and Emma's been glowing since the engagement. My parents Robert and Linda have been in full wedding planning mode, which seemed normal enough until last Sunday. We were having our monthly family dinner when my mother cleared her throat. In that way, that means she's about to make an announcement. "Jake, your father and I have been discussing Emma's wedding gift situation." I nodded, assuming they'd want me to contribute to some expensive kitchen appliance set or maybe help with wedding costs. "Sure. What were you thinking? I've already budgeted about $2,000 for her gift." My father set down his fork. "That's very generous, son, but we were thinking of something more substantial. Your apartment would be perfect for the newlyweds." I actually laughed, thinking it was a joke, right? They can borrow it for their honeymoon weekend or something. I could stay with friends. "No, Jake." My mother's voice was patient, like she was explaining something to a child. "We mean as their wedding gift. You'd transfer the deed to Emma and Ryan." The silence that followed was deafening. Emma was staring at her plate. Ryan was looking anywhere but at me, and my parents were watching me with expectant expressions. "You want me to give away my apartment? The one I bought with my own money that I'm still paying the mortgage on?" "Don't be dramatic," my father said. "You're single. You can easily rent something smaller. Newlyweds need proper housing more than a bachelor does. It's about priorities, Jake. Family comes first, but it's my apartment." I said, still not quite believing this was real. I worked for years to afford it. My mother reached across the table like she was going to pat my hand, but I pulled back. "Sweetheart, when you get married, we'll help you too. But right now, Emma needs it more. You're successful. You can afford another place. Think of it as investing in your sister's happiness." "Mom, that's not an investment. That's giving away my largest asset." "And what do you mean, help me too? You're not helping. You're asking me to give away my home." Emma finally spoke up, her voice small. "Jake, I didn't know they were going to ask this, but Ryan and I have been looking at rentals, and everything's so expensive. Your neighborhood has the good schools for when we have kids. You don't have kids. You're not even married yet." "But we will?" Ryan chimed in, apparently finding his voice. "And it makes sense to be settled before that happens. You understand, right? You're the successful older brother. You've always looked out for Emma." The manipulation was so blatant, it was almost impressive. They'd clearly discussed this before I arrived. My parents had probably been planning this approach for weeks, maybe months. "Looking out for her doesn't mean making myself homeless," I said, standing up. "This is insane. I can't believe you're seriously asking this." My father's face hardened. "We're not asking, Jake. We're telling you what's right. You've always been selfish about your success. Your sister is starting a family. You're just living the bachelor life. Which matters more? My financial security matters. My home matters. The fact that I worked my ass off for this matters." Language, my mother said primly. "And this attitude is exactly why you're still single. No woman wants a man who puts material possessions over family." That was the final straw. I grabbed my jacket and headed for the door. Emma called after me. "Jake, please, can't we discuss this?" "There's nothing to discuss. The answer is no. It will always be no." My father's voice followed me out. "You walk out that door, and you're walking out on this family. We raised you better than this." I left anyway. It's been 3 days now. My phone has been blowing up with messages. My mother has sent me several long texts about how disappointed she is, how she never thought her son would be so selfish, how Emma is crying because her brother doesn't love her enough to help her start her married life properly. My father sent a single message. "A real man provides for his family. Apparently I raised a boy." Emma has sent a few texts apologizing, but also asking if we can work something out. Maybe I could sell them the apartment at a family discount, or let them live there for just a few years while they save up. Some of my aunts and cousins have reached out, having heard various versions of the story. Most seem to think I should compromise somehow, though none of them are offering up their homes. The thing is, I don't feel guilty. I feel angry. This apartment isn't just walls and a roof. It's proof that I made it despite my parents always favoring Emma. She got the car for her 16th birthday. I got a bus pass. She got her college fully paid for. I took out loans I just finished paying off last year. She got a down payment for her first apartment after college. I got told to figure it out like an adult. I worked for everything I have, and now they want me to hand over my biggest accomplishment because Emma is getting married. Am I really the should family obligation extend to giving away your home? Has anyone else dealt with this level of entitlement from family? Update 2 weeks later. Thank you to everyone who responded to my original post. Your comments gave me the strength to stand firm when the pressure intensified. I need to update you on what's happened because it's taken a turn I didn't expect. After my post, things got worse before they got better. My parents started a campaign to turn the extended family against me. They told everyone I was refusing to help Emma with even a small wedding gift and that I was hoarding wealth while my sister struggled. They conveniently left out the part where the small gift was my entire apartment. Last Tuesday, I got a call from my uncle Marcus, my dad's older brother. Marcus has always been the black sheep of the family. He moved across the country years ago after some falling out with my grandparents that no one really talks about. Jake, he said, without preamble, I heard Robert's version of what's happening. Now tell me yours. I told him everything. The demand for my apartment, the manipulation, the guilt. Tripping the family campaign against me. There was a long silence when I finished. Jesus Christ, he finally said. They're really doing it again. Doing what again? Marcus sighed. Kid, there's something you need to know about your father and my parents, your grandparents. When I was 28, I started a business. Worked 18-hour days, lived on nothing, built it from scratch. 2 years in, it was finally taking off. That's when your grandparents decided your father, who had just gotten married to your mother, needed it more. My stomach dropped. What? They pressured me for months to sign over my business to Robert, said he had a wife to support, that I was single and could start over. When I refused, they turned the entire family against me. Sound familiar? That's why you left. That's why I left. And you know what the kicker is? Robert ran that business into the ground within 18 months. But by then, I was already gone. And he'd learned he could manipulate situations to get what he wanted. Looks like he's teaching Emma the same lesson. Marcus offered to fly out and support me. But more importantly, he gave me crucial advice: document everything, every text, every email, every voicemail. And Jake, the fact that Emma knew nothing about this beforehand is, she might not have planned it, but she sure as hell didn't shut it down. He was right. I went back through our text exchanges and Emma's messages were revealing. Not once did she say the request was inappropriate. She only apologized for how it was presented and kept suggesting alternatives that all involved me giving up my apartment. I decided to test something. I texted Emma, if you really had no idea about Mom and Dad's plan, then you'll tell them publicly that you don't want my apartment and that the request was inappropriate. Her response was telling Jake that would embarrass them. Can't we just work this out privately? Maybe you could rent it to us at below market rate. So she was embarrassed about embarrassing them, but not about them trying to take my home. Got it. I then did something that might have been petty, but it felt necessary. I created a family group email with all the relatives who had been contacting me and laid out the facts. 1, my parents wanted me to transfer the deed of my apartment to Emma as a wedding gift. 2, this apartment was purchased entirely with my own money. 3, I was still paying the mortgage. 4, at no point had my parents offered any compensation. 5, they were now punishing me for saying no to giving away my largest asset. I attached screenshots of the text messages from my parents and Emma. The response was immediate and split. Some relatives were shocked and sided with me. Others, particularly my parents' generation, still thought I should help family, but admitted asking for the apartment was a bit much. My parents were furious. My father called me screaming about airing family business and how I'd ruined Emma's wedding happiness. My mother sent a long email about how I destroyed the family and that she was so ashamed of me she couldn't face her book club. But here's where it gets interesting. Uncle Marcus reached out to some other relatives privately and learned this wasn't the first time my parents had pulled this kind of thing. Apparently, they pressured my cousin Sarah to give Emma her designer wedding dress from just 2 years ago because Emma deserved it more and Sarah was already married. Sarah had refused and they'd made her life hell for months. The pattern was becoming clear. My parents had created a dynamic where Emma was always entitled to what others had earned because she needed it more or deserved it more. And anyone who refused was labeled selfish and anti-F family. Marcus flew in last weekend. The look on my father's face when his brother walked into their house was priceless. I wasn't there, but Marcus told me about it later. Robert Marcus had said, "You're doing to your son exactly what mom and dad did to me. Except this time, I'm here to make sure Jake doesn't lose his family over your greed." My parents tried to argue, but Marcus shut them down. He pointed out that they'd paid for Emma's college, but not mine. That they'd given her multiple financial gifts over the years while telling me to be independent. And now they wanted me to subsidize her marriage with my home. "You created this disparity," Marcus told them. "And now you want Jake to pay for it literally with the roof over his head. That's not family, that's exploitation." Emma was there and apparently started crying, saying this was all getting out of hand and she just wanted everyone to get along. Marcus asked her point blank, "Do you think you're entitled to your brother's apartment?" She couldn't answer. She just kept crying and saying, "It wasn't supposed to be like this." Ryan, to his credit or discredit, depending on how you look at it, finally spoke up and said they'd withdraw the request for the apartment. But the damage was done. He'd shown his true colors. He'd been willing to take my home if I'd been pressured into giving it up. As of now, I'm not going to Emma's wedding. I'm not giving them any gift, not even the original $2,000 I'd budgeted. My parents are barely speaking to me, though they've stopped actively campaigning against me since Marcus's intervention and my email expose. The family is divided. Some think I'm right to stand my ground. Others think I should still be the bigger person and give Emma something substantial, though no one's suggesting the apartment anymore. But you know what? I don't care. I'm sitting in my apartment, the one I earned, writing this update. Uncle Marcus is staying with me for a few more days, and for the first time in my life, I feel like I have someone in my family who truly understands me. Update 6 months later. I wanted to give a final update now that the dust has settled and Emma's wedding has come and gone. A lot has happened, and I finally feel like I have closure on this whole situation. First, let me address the wedding. It happened 2 months ago, and as I mentioned, I didn't attend. Emma and Ryan got married at the venue my parents paid for with all the trimmings they wanted. From what I heard from cousins who did attend, it was a beautiful event, though there was apparently some tension when people asked where I was. My parents told everyone I had a work emergency. Uncle Marcus, who also didn't attend in solidarity with me, made sure key family members knew the real reason. The divide in the family has actually solidified into something interesting. The younger generation mostly supports me, while the older generation is split between those who think family should share everything and those who've had their own experiences with my parents' manipulation. But here's where things get really interesting. About 3 weeks after the wedding, Emma called me. Not a text, but an actual phone call. She was crying, and for once it sounded genuine. "Jake, I need to apologize," she said. Like really apologize, not just say sorry to make things go away. I was skeptical, but decided to hear her out. We met at a neutral location, a coffee shop downtown, nowhere near my apartment. Emma looked different. Tired maybe, or just worn down. "Ryan left," she said without preamble. I nearly spit out my coffee. "What? It's been 3 weeks," she laughed bitterly. "Yeah, well, apparently when he realized he wasn't getting a free apartment and that you weren't the endless ATM he thought you were, he decided I wasn't worth it. He actually said, and I quote, 'I thought your family had money. Your brother has that nice apartment and your parents were always giving you stuff.' The irony was so thick you could cut it with a knife. So he was a gold digger. The funny thing is, I don't think he started that way," Emma said. "But when mom and dad started promising him things, promising him your things, he got comfortable with the idea that marrying me meant marrying into wealth. Wealth that wasn't even theirs to promise." She told me that after Marcus's visit, Ryan had started pushing her to repair the relationship with me, to get access to my apartment again. When she refused, saying she was starting to see how wrong it all was, he became distant. He left 2 days before our meeting, saying he needed to reconsider their financial future. "Jake," Emma said, looking me directly in the eye for the first time in months. "I've been the spoiled favorite my whole life. I knew it, but I never thought about what it cost you. Mom and Dad made me believe I deserved everything I got, and that you having to work for things was just normal character building for the son, protection for the daughter." It was the most honest she'd ever been with me. She went on to explain how Marcus had reached out to her after the wedding drama and shared stories about family patterns, about how their parents had created a toxic dynamic that went back generations. "I'm getting therapy," she said. "And I'm getting a job. A real job, not the part-time thing Mom said was enough for a girl like me. I need to learn how to stand on my own feet." I appreciated her honesty, but I wasn't ready to forgive and forget. Too much had happened. I told her as much. "I'm not asking for forgiveness," she said. "I'm just asking for a chance to prove I can be better. Maybe we can work toward being actual siblings instead of whatever we were before." We've met for coffee a few times since then. It's awkward, but she's trying. She's actually shown me her pay tabs from her new job, proud of earning her own money for the first time. It's a start. As for my parents, that's more complicated. After Ryan left and Emma started therapy, she confronted them about the years of favoritism and manipulation. From what she told me, it didn't go well. They denied everything, said she was being influenced by Marcus and me, and threatened to cut off the financial support they still provided. Emma called their bluff. She moved out of the apartment they were paying for and got a smaller place with roommates. The last I heard, my parents were in shock that both their children had abandoned them. Marcus has been my rock through all of this. He stayed in touch, calling weekly and visiting every couple of months. He's teaching me about setting boundaries and recognizing manipulation. He's also shared more family history patterns of control and favoritism that go back generations. "You broke the cycle, Jake," he told me during his last visit. "You stood up and said, 'No, that takes real courage.'" The best part, Marcus helped me understand that family isn't about blood or obligation. It's about mutual respect and genuine care. He's shown me more real family support in 6 months than my parents showed in 30 years. My apartment has become even more meaningful to me now. It's not just my home, it's the symbol of my independence and self-worth. I've actually started having friends over more, building my chosen family. I hosted Thanksgiving for other family black sheep and orphans, people whose families didn't appreciate them. Marcus flew in for it. It was the best holiday I've ever had. My parents have reached out a few times testing the waters. They've never apologized, but have hinted that everyone should move past this drama. I've made it clear that any relationship with them going forward will be on my terms, and will require genuine acknowledgement of their behavior. The wedding gift situation. In the end, Emma got what she actually needed: a reality check and a chance to grow as a person. Ryan showed his true colors before they could waste years together. My parents learned that their control has limits, and I learned that standing up for yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. To everyone who supported me through my original post and updates, thank you. Your validation helped me realize I wasn't crazy, that what was being asked of me was absolutely insane. You helped me find my spine. And to anyone facing similar family pressure, remember this. You are not obligated to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. Your accomplishments are yours. Your home is yours. Anyone who truly loves you wouldn't ask you to sacrifice your security for their comfort. Uncle Marcus said something that stuck with me. Real family multiplies joy and divides sorrow. They don't divide your assets and multiply your sorrow. I'm keeping my apartment. I'm building my boundaries. And for the first time in my life, I'm defining what family means to me. Final thoughts. Looking back on everything that's happened, I'm struck by how much one firm no can change your entire life. If I'd given in to the pressure, I'd have lost more than my apartment. I'd have lost my self-respect and reinforced a toxic pattern that would have continued forever. Emma and I are slowly building something resembling a healthy sibling relationship. She's been in therapy for 4 months now and has started recognizing how our parents' favoritism damaged both of us. Her by making her entitled, and dependent me by making me feel less valued. She's working full-time now and recently excitedly told me she'd saved her first $0. It might seem small, but for someone who never had to save before, it's huge. Ryan disappeared completely after the divorce papers were filed. Emma says she dodged a bullet, and I agree. Anyone willing to take someone else's home as a wedding gift has serious character issues. My parents remain largely unchanged. They've shifted their narrative from "Jake is selfish" to "we don't know what happened to tear our family apart." They refused to acknowledge their role in any of this. I've accepted that they may never change, and I'm okay with that. My relationship with them, if it continues at all, will be surface level at best. Uncle Marcus has become the father figure I never knew I needed. He's teaching me about investing, about business, about standing strong in your convictions. He recently told me he's proud of me, and I nearly cried. I couldn't remember the last time my actual father said those words without wanting something in return. The extended family has largely moved on to other drama, though I've noticed a shift. Other cousins have started standing up to unreasonable requests, citing my situation as precedent. One cousin, Sarah, reached out to thank me for breaking the spell and showing her it was okay to say no to family manipulation. My apartment has become my sanctuary. Every mortgage payment I make reminds me that I earned this. I deserve this, and no one can take it from me. I've renovated the kitchen with my year-end bonus and turned the spare alcove into a home office. Every improvement I make is a celebration of my independence. The most important lesson I've learned is that guilt is not an indicator of wrongdoing. I felt guilty initially for saying no, but that guilt was programmed into me by years of being told that my needs came second to Emma's wants. Guilt can be a manipulation tool, and recognizing that has been liberating. I've also learned that family patterns repeat until someone breaks them. My father learned from his parents that you could pressure relatives into giving up their assets. He passed that entitlement to Emma. But it stops here. If I ever have children, they'll learn that you earn what you have. You respect what others have earned. And family means supporting each other's growth, not cannibalizing each other's success. To those who asked if I regret not going to the wedding, I don't. Attending would have sent the message that everything was okay, that they could treat me this way and still have my presence at family events. Boundaries without consequences aren't boundaries at all. Someone asked if I think Emma and I can ever have a normal relationship. Honestly, we're building something new. It won't be normal because our past wasn't normal, but it might be honest, and that's better than what we had before. The situation with my parents taught me that sometimes the price of keeping the peace is too high. If peace requires you to sacrifice your financial security, your home, your self-worth, it's not peace. It's oppression with a smile. I still live in my apartment, I still love my apartment, and every time I unlock my door, I'm reminded that this is what standing up for yourself looks like. It looks like coming home to a place no one can take from you. To everyone struggling with similar family dynamics, remember, you don't owe anyone your accomplishments. You don't owe anyone your security. You don't owe anyone the fruits of your labor just because you share DNA. You owe yourself respect, boundaries, and the life you've worked to build. And that's more than enough.